Hello and welcome to CU Data Week. This video is going to give you an introduction into R. My name is Samantha Roberts. I am a research scientist with the Center for Innovative Design and Analysis. And so I'm going to give you an introduction into R. On our agenda today is to go over what is R and then how do we install it. I'm going to give an overview of the interface of R. There are a couple of different windows that we can talk about. I'm going to go over packages and how to install them, and then how to import data, and then also what is a data table and what does that look like. This is a great video to watch before you go to the data management in our seminar. This way you can already have R downloaded. You can actually already input whatever data set you're going to be using for that class. So you can follow along using the code that you have access to the data set that you have access to. So that's not something that you have to worry about before you attend the seminar on R. You can already have all of that done. That is the purpose of this video. And so let's go over what is R. R is a free open source software program for statistical computing and graphics. It is based on the S language. R Studio is just an easier, more user-friendly version environment to use code using R. So it's just an easier interface to use when you want to code in R. These are the two different links that you need to use to be able to download R and R Studio. I'm going to go through each one of these. But first and foremost, before you can download R Studio, you have to download R. And so I'm going to go through each of these for us. And so first is going to this link is here. And so what you would want to do, so that's the link, and then you want to click right here that says download R. And so then you're going to get to this web page. And so you're going to have to pick one of these mirrors to download. And so you want to come down all the way to the United States, so USA. And so these are all the locations of these mirrors. So you usually want to pick one that's closest to you. We have Oregon, we have the University of Utah. So if we wanted to click the Utah one, and then here you have the different downloads for the different systems. So you have download R for Linux, you have it for Mac and for Windows. For Mac, before you can download R, you have to download Xquartz first. So Xquartz is required for you to be able to download R. And then for R for Windows, here, and you could click this to say install R for the first time, and then you'll just follow the instructions. Next, to download R Studio. So first things first, you have to download R. You cannot download R Studio if you don't have R downloaded. So download R and then go, and you can go here and click download R Studio. And so that's here. What you want to do is you want to come down and you want to download R Studio desktop. You can see here it's free. And then you'll come here and you want to first install R, then you want to install R Studio. And then these are the different systems. And then you would want to click on these to download them. And then again, follow the instructions on how to download this R Studio. So once you do, you will have this. This is the interface for R Studio. So we can see we have 4 different quadrants here. And so I'm going to go through what each of these quadrants are. You can notice that some of them have different tabs. And so we're going to talk about each one of those. So down here is our first window down here on the bottom left. This is the console window. So this is the output of your coding and computations. So whatever you write in here will also show up in the console, and some results will also show up within the console. So if you run, say, a t-test, the results of that t-test will show up here in the console. The next up here on the top left is our source window. So this is where your programming code and your notes go. So as you're, running your code, writing out your code, this is where you would do it. if you want to save it as within your full program. So you can see here, my program is our code, CU Data Week 2025. And then I can create notes within it by doing these, using the pound signs. It won't run, it's just notes. And it's always good to, when you're coding, to include notes, to include comments, to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. So this is your source window. And then over here on the top right, we have these 4 tabs. So I'm going to go over each one individually. So first we have this environment tab. So these are all the objects that are available for computation. So this could be list, it could be vectors, it could be data sets or data frames. And so that's where everything that you can use that you have created, that's where it exists right here in the environment. So when we upload our data set, it will then show up here in the environment. So this history here, this gives past computations that ran in the console. So this would be really helpful if, say, because you can write code just within the console. It's just not saved within your program because it's not written in the source window. So say I'm just testing out some code to make sure that it's doing what I want it to do. I can just write it out in the console. And then I move on, but I forgot to transfer it to my source window, to my program. You can come back here into history and you can see all the different things that I've used, the different code that I have had in the console, and then I can copy and paste it and put it in here. This connections, this can tab into external databases directly. And then tutorial here, this has additional material for R and RStudio. So you can click here to look at different, how to use R and different tutorials that you can use for it. I'm going to keep it here in the environment because this is what I use the most, because this is where all the objects that I would want to use in my program live, so I can see it. Next, here at the bottom right, we have files, plots, packages, help, and viewer. So files here list all the files and folders to your root directory. If you want to know where your root directory is, you can click here on terminal, and so you can see this path. So this path here is what your root directory is, and you can change your root directory. We're not going to go over that today, but just if you don't like where your directory is, then you can change that. So you can see here within these files for, I have CU Data Week 2024. Here are all the different things that I can open up. So you can see here I have these different R codes that I can use and open up within R if I wanted to. Plots. So this will display any two-dimensional plots that you have created. So I'm going to show you an example of that by using box plot. This is in base R. There's packages that that just exist when you download R. And one of those is actually having different data sets. So base R has data sets that are included that you can use to practice coding, to practice analysis, to practice creating tables or figures or whatever you want to do. There are multiple different data sets that you can use. So here, this is the empty cars. You'll probably see this when you go and do some tutorials, this one being used pretty regularly. So here, I just want to create, look at this plot. I'm going to create. So how to run code. There are a couple of ways. So you can highlight it and then click run. And so then you can see here, it shows up here in the console. And then now we have this plot here. You can also highlight it and then use Control Enter. That also will run that specific code. So if you have multiple lines of code you want to run at the same time, you can highlight all of it, either click run or click Control Enter. You can also just use a cursor at doing Control Enter within the line of code that you would want to use, and that also runs it. So you can see down here, when you do that, it does run the code, whatever lines are above it. But you can see here, we have this code showed up here. But then that is where, so if you do run code for different plots within your source code, your source program. It will show up here in the plots. Next is this packages. So this lists the packages you can import, install, and use when conducting analysis or data cleaning. I'm going to go over that in a little bit. We have this help tab. So this help tab enables you to get some information on a package or a data set or a function. So it gives documentation about the data set that you are looking to use or the function that you're wanting to use. It gives, with a function, it gives like a step-by-step on what you want, how you want to use it. And so how you do that, again, I would recommend doing this within the console and not really in your source code. Simply because you usually don't want to save this. So here I can show you that you can run this in the source code. So you write it and then you just click enter. But if we do it here, why isn't this working? Okay, so you can see here, I ran mutate. And so if we look over here in the help, this gives, mutate is a function within the dplyr package. And so this gives a description of the function, and then it shows you how to use it. So this gives all the arguments that you can use within the function. It explains what each argument is and how you can use it. And it gives other kind of useful functions. And then at the very bottom, it has examples on how to use this specific function. You can also do it for data frames. So we can see here, this empty cars is a data set that exists within base R. And so it's the motor trend car roads test. So it gives a description, and then it tells you all the how many observations are in it, and then how many variables. Or so our variables are the columns, and so you can see here the name of every single variable that is included in the data set. So this is great. You can understand what the data set is and know what all of the variable names and what the variable names are and what they represent. So MPG is miles per gallon, CYL is number of cylinders, so on and so forth. And then this viewer tab enables you to view tables, and then say you do a data visualization that's more dynamic. So you can look at it, it's a dynamic data visualization. You can look at here in the viewer. So for example, we look here, I just created this little table and it shows up here in the viewer. So let's talk about packages. R uses different packages for data management, plotting, and different analysis techniques. Base R is already uploaded when you download R, and it can just do kind of basic data management, like a t-test, and basic analysis like a t-test, and so on and so forth. But for more advanced tasks, you want to upload different packages. So one that is very useful is a package called Tidyverse. Within Tidyverse, you have actually multiple packages that get installed when you install Tidyverse. So some of those packages are dplyr, tidy, ggplot for data visualization. I forget all the ones that are in Tidyverse, but there are multiple packages that are associated. There are a lot of different packages to create tables. There's other packages to create different figures. There are lots of packages on how to analyze data. So if you want to do, say, a survival analysis, there are specific packages that you need to be able to conduct survival analysis. And so depending on what program that what you're doing depends on the kind of libraries that you need to, or packages you need to install it for yourself. And so to do that, this is the code. It's install.packages, and then you have parentheses, and then you put the package name in quotations. I would recommend doing this within the console. You don't need to save this within a source code. in your source program because you only need to do this once. You only need to download the package or install the package one time, unless you have to re-upload, update your R, then you're going to have to install your packages over again. But you do need to do this library with the package that you want to use for your program for every single program that you are using, for every single program that you have. So for example, for this program, I need tidyverse, table one, and then looper date. This is a really good package for dates. We're not actually going to use that here, but I wanted to let you know that this is a really good package to have if you want to deal with dates. But so this is usually one of the first lines of code that you're going to have within a program because these are the packages that you want to use to conduct whatever analysis or data management that you're doing within this specific program. So you'll want to do library and the package for every single time. You can also see things here and you can click these buttons and that will load the package into your program. Next, how do you import data? I'm going to go over how to import two types of data, CSV files and Excel files. So first, for a CSV file, you're going to use the function read.csv. And so within R, we don't use equal signs. We use the arrow when we are creating an object. So here I'm creating the object df, which is going to be a data frame. And so I'm using the arrow to say I'm creating this object and it's going to be this data set that I'm pulling from my computer file. And so what you have to do, you're going to have parentheses and then quotations. So within quotations here, you're going to have the path of the whatever data set that you want to pull in, plus the name of the data set and then .csv because this is a CSV file. And so if you're like, I don't know how to find the path, like how do I do that? So how you do that is that you look here. And so you go to where your data set is. So I have it here. So birth weight CU data week. You can right click this and then click on properties. And then right here at location, this is the file path. So an easy way to do this is just to highlight it and then copy it. So Control C. And then you can come here and then Control V and paste it. So remember, it does need to be within quotations and within the parentheses. But a big thing that you're going to have to go through and change are these backward slashes. You need to make them forward slashes. So this is the full file path, and then you'll do a forward slash and you'll put the name of the data set or the file with the .csv. And so I'm going to delete that. And so now I'm going to run that. And this tells R where to pull the data set. This is the file path to pull in. So you can see here in the environment, I have that data frame existing here. And it tells us that we have 50,003 observations and 15 variables. If you would like to do an Excel, you need the package readxl. So you would have to install that package first. Then you have to load it into your program with the library. And then it's the same thing. So whatever you're going to call this data frame or call this data set or call this object, you get to choose whatever you want. And then you're going to do your arrow. And then the function for this is read_Excel. And then it's the same as the read.csv. You're going to have your parentheses and then the file path and the file name within the quotations within that parentheses. And so what we did, we loaded in this data table. You can call it a data frame. You can call it a data set. I think I've interchanged those words throughout this entire video because they all basically mean the same thing. But I want to do a view of that data set. So you can use this code view and then in parentheses, the data set you want to look at. So here is that data frame. And so what we have here, we have columns and then we have rows. So our columns are our variables. So these are the different variables within this data set. And then underneath it is going to be all the values within that variable. And then our rows here are our observations. So sometimes you're going to have one observation per row, or you could have multiple of the same observation for multiple rows. So that's usually if you're doing some kind of longitudinal study and say you're trying to get, red blood cell count every 6 months for 2 years. So within that red blood cell count, you're going to have, 4 or 5 different values for one observation. But here, this one is just one observation per row. They're all distinctly different. And so that is what a data frame is. So some helpful resources here is Google. Google is your friend. So if you don't understand, so maybe you looked at mutate and you used the question mark, put mutate in, but the information within the help isn't specific. It's not helping you to be able to use that function. Google it and be very specific of the question that you're asking, because somebody somewhere has had the same issue that you have had, or somebody somewhere has had the issue before and has gone on to explain how to overcome it. And so a lot of times with Google, you're going to get something from Geeks for Geeks within Stack Overflow. Those are communities where people ask questions and other people answer them. Another helpful resource is DataCamp. So DataCamp has different tutorials that you can do for R. So if you want more help, you can go to DataCamp. Coming up here, if you want to register for CU Data Week 2025, you can use this QR code to register, and you can pick all of the different seminars that you want to attend. The more seminars that you attend, the more times you're going to be put in to receive a gift card. So thank you so much for being here. Please follow us on LinkedIn and X, formerly Twitter. And if you want to learn about other services we have, you can go to ceda.cudenver.edu. Thank you.